Well, there's a few news articles I thought were interesting. The right passing their abortion bills have begun passing really extreme ones that outlaw abortion when it's medically necessary to protect the life of the mother, which would seem to be incredibly immoral. I mean, whatever objections you might have to abortion, this could very well be a married couple that are already have children, having a child, and the mother has a medical complication requiring an abortion. And people say they wouldn't do that, but here in Louisiana, they actually amended the bill to make sure it covers ectopic pregnancies. It originally said fertilization and implantation in order to avoid covering ectopic pregnancies, which take place in the wrong part of the organs involved. And they took that out and apparently also said this was the will of God. So they're going all the way back to the medieval days. Well, back then, they would execute women for having miscarriages because they were accused of having killed their baby. So this appears to be where we're headed, straight into Gilead. And here, by the way, they are also considering federal abortion bans, so the states won't even be able to have it state by state, but they haven't decided to do that for sure yet. Anyway, so this was quite interesting on a technical point of view. A lot of people think VPNs provide them with anonymity, so people can't tell what they're doing and they can download illegal movies and such. But what's interesting is ISPs sell NetFlow data to security firms. In particular, Team Kimru sells this to a lot of other people, and it just gets sold around. So they sell it and they advertise products specifically saying you can track through VPNs. So even if a criminal attacking you is using a VPN, you'll be able to detect that and trace it back to its original source. And so, and they say, for example, he points out, if you think rolling your own Amazon VPN server would protect you, it won't. In fact, it just makes it easier because they can just look at the NetFlow data to see who's been connecting to that server. And if you're the only one using it, that doesn't protect you at all. So it's I've been less and less interested in VPN services the more I've learned about them this last couple of years. Tor is probably the only one that protects you to some extent, and it doesn't stop the government. Anyway, of course, they do make it a little harder for some attackers, but they're not the beautiful, strong solution that you might wish they were. This is quite cute. Avast has a driver that runs in the kernel, which can be used to kill processes. And he says, how do you avoid the wall of sheep? Well, the wall of sheep is a very weak attack, and you could certainly avoid it with a VPN, because the wall of sheep is not is just sniffing on the local network. That's what it stops. It'll also stop people sitting next to you in a coffee house. So that's why it might be worth having if you're actually afraid of that attack. Anyway, there's a kernel driver in the Avast, and so there's a bunch of attackers that stole the Avast driver and they deploy it on Windows systems, and since it is signed, it is accepted and it can run in the kernel, and then they can use it to kill their antivirus. So that's a sort of interesting, ironic thing. The antivirus product is used to kill the other antivirus products. After the Fukushima radioactive disaster in Japan, the food grown near that has radioactive particles in it and was not suitable for export, but they just changed the rules in Britain to no longer limit radioactive particles in your food, so they are now importing the radioactive food. And they claim, oh, it's not very much and it won't hurt you. It's an interesting position to take. I know Americans eat GMO, genetically modified food, and all of Europe, I think, refuses to eat that stuff, saying it's too dangerous for you. It is... I don't believe you can eat radioactive food over here, but I don't know. Anyway, charming. So this is at Uber. They made a change to switch that every time they interviewed anyone to hire them, they would have a woman and a man work together to hire them. And they said immediately they discovered that a lot of applicants absolutely refused to talk to the woman. And even when the woman was the lead person posing questions, they would only talk to the man and not even look at the woman, and so they wouldn't hire anybody like that. Apparently this is quite common, And from the comments, he says, people are saying, well, in my society, we do not talk to women. Women are inferior. And he said, well, then you can't work in America if you're going to be like that. But anyway, this is an interesting issue. Women certainly get treated a lot like men in many places. And apparently even at job interviews, people can't figure out that they ought not act that way. There is a full-day meetup a week from tomorrow in Palo Alto. So I think I'll probably be there unless I'm stopped for something else. It looks really good, like a little security con. Car hacking, Kubernetes security, mobile application security. Looks like fun. So if the semester's still going, which I think it is, that'll be worth extra credit for anybody that goes, and I'm probably going to go there with some of my friends. I encourage you to check it out. And this is the one. The Republicans are discussing whether they should just try to ban abortion entirely. Probably the most intelligence I got from reading this article is what I expected. They won't be able to do it for the same reason the Democrats cannot codify abortion rights, because nobody can get anything through the Senate because of the filibuster rule. So that's probably right. I do not know if it's suitable for beginners. I don't think there's enough information there to tell you. I'll put the link up so you can read what information exists. It's a good question, but I don't think I have a good answer. Car hacking is online. And here's the mobile security workshop. In-depth technical overview. Prerequisites. They recommend that you have workstation with Android Studio and Android device, workstation with Xcode and iOS device. Yep, Android Studio, JADX, and ADB. That looks like the usual stuff. APK tool. This is all the stuff I'll be using next semester in our 128 class here. Even without the filibuster rule, wouldn't supermajority? Yes, but the filibuster is what makes the supermajority rule. That is the supermajority requirement. Originally, the Senate only required a majority to pass anything. It was actually a minor error in a rule for closing arguments, which led to this sort of hack called the filibuster, which was not intended at all. But that's what made the Senate always require 60 votes for almost everything. And that pretty much paralyzed the American government, where we really can't do much of anything about anything. A lot of people want to see it end, but supermajority is used globally and in all levels of government. Well, I don't know. Perhaps I know there are certain occasions in which you need a supermajority. You could codify that. I know that, and I think that was Prop 13 or something in California said you need a supermajority to pass any new taxes, which is why everything's done with bond measures now. But anyway, it was not originally the case that you needed 60 votes to get anything done in the Senate, or whatever the equivalent would have been back then. But anyway, so they are building a fence around the Supreme Court building, presumably because of that leaked document showing they're going to end Roe versus Wade, and also pointedly revealing how incredibly specious and outrageous the language they're using and the precedent they're setting is, because they could have done it a lot of less violent ways that would do a lot less harm to the legal structure. And anyway, so they're building a fence. What I thought is funny, they call this a tall, unclimbable fence. And that's not really a tall, unclimbable fence at all. That doesn't look very impressive at all. I think it would be pretty easy to climb over that. But anyway, they're putting up a fence for, I don't know if they're fearing more leakers or protesters or what they're fearing. So the Democrats are going to have a vote on abortion rights, even though they just had one a couple months ago, and this will certainly fail. So this is, I remember having these same arguments about 40 years ago, saying all the Democrats do is meaningless symbolic gestures that are going to fail, and they're still doing that. That does seem to be a Democratic favorite activity, is to engage in a symbolic gesture that will accomplish nothing. So they're doing another one of them. This has hit the news pretty prominently. that the reason that the Ukrainians have been able to kill so many Russian generals, apparently they've killed more than 10 generals now, is because the United States is helping them with signals intelligence, helping them with electronic information gathering to help them locate the generals and Russian units to attack. This does seem like something that you probably would have preferred to keep secret. And so people say the fact that this has become so public may well lead to Putin deciding to do something to punish America, because this is our participation in this war is getting more and more blatant. So I would think it would have been better to not let this information become public, but it has become public. The inflation situation in Britain seems to be just as bad as ours. They worried about their inflation is going to rise to 10%, which would be even more than ours, and they're however hiking their interest rates up to 1%, about what our Fed just did. So the American economy and the British economy seem to be moving pretty much in lockstep. This is from the White House, saying the United States must be a leader in quantum computing because of the risk to public key encryption systems, and it has quite a few technical details about the cryptographic systems that are at risk, and talking about the benefits of quantum information systems. It really seems quite technically good. Somebody that knows something about quantum computing and cryptography helped write this thing, and what it says is the United States government should immediately further research on these things, and various government agencies must prepare reports in the next year or two explaining how they are going to migrate all their cryptography systems to better ones, and also how they are going to make it so they can change their cryptography system efficiently, because we'll probably just have to keep changing it into the future as things break. Is China ahead of us in quantum computing? I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows. I know that Americans have had some really large accomplishments in quantum computing from Google and such. I've heard some people say China is ahead of us. I don't think, but I don't know. I haven't seen convincing proof of it. As far as I know, nobody on Earth is anywhere near having a quantum computer that actually does anything that would immediately matter, like crack RSA keys of any length. But everybody is vigorously trying to develop it. Realistically, no one expects it to turn into anything immediately valuable for another 10 or 20 years. But when it does hit, then all public key cryptography currently in use would be no longer secure. So it is appropriate to move to better systems. And they do mention here also, when the National Institute of Standards comes up with quantum secure systems, quantum resistant cryptography, which is expected to be approved in a year or two, then that will, they talk about everybody will jump on it then. And they also, by the way, forbid the government from buying any commercial post-quantum systems right now. They say we will not buy any quantum-proof cryptography until the standards come out, which is, in my opinion, a very wise rule. There are several vendors already selling supposedly quantum-resistant computation, but the process of testing these algorithms is not over, so it does not seem reasonable to buy it now. You'll probably just have to change it. Yeah, I remember there was something that would move a key at 0.1 baud. That was another quantum technique. That's not the quantum-proof algorithms they're working on. But anyway, all right, it's already 12 minutes after, so I think that's enough news.